Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome in here to PuckTime, powered by WagerTalk TV. It is President's Day, Family Day, Heritage Day. No matter where you live right now, there's some type of holiday going on, and we're happy to have you with us here and happy to have all kinds of day hockey all throughout the day. You're going to have hockey action from 1 p.m. Eastern all the way up until late into the night. We have 3 games to get after: Stars, Bees, Wings, Kraken, Senators, and Lightning. Of course, all of our best bets found at WagerTalk.com. Free play videos also, WagerTalk.com. But Carm, I'll bring you in, brother. Good to see you as always. Any thoughts on the weekend? Then we'll dive right into our first game, and it's a big one: Stars and Bruins.
Yeah, it was a good weekend. I had a great weekend, so I'm pretty happy. 10-1 from Friday through Sunday. Only one play on Sunday. It was the 5% soccer play with Roma, which was a 3-0 winner. But Andrew, I got to tell you a quick story. So like Saturday night, I'm like, I won my soccer plays. I won my first 2 NHL, and my friends are going out for someone's birthday party at a place in Vaughan, Ontario, or Woodbridge. Uh, and it called Shoeless Joe's. And we go to, and the Leafs game's on. So I have the Leafs -1.5 as the last game to go 6-0 on the day. And we're there. These guys are younger than me. They're drinking. They're having a good time. We're there for about 2.5 hours. Combined amongst 8 guys, our bill is probably over 1K easily. And then this assistant manager comes up with this machine and says, you guys planning to stay for UFC in an hour? And my friends are like, we're celebrating a birthday party. It's going to be $10 more if you want to stay. And on principle, we all left. We said to the lady, are you kidding me? Like, we just spent like $1,000 just in drinks. It's alcohol is a moneymaker for places. And you guys are going to try and charge us an extra $10. So she leaves, comes back and says, my apologies. You guys are all okay. And by that point, we paid our bills and we left. The guys weren't there to watch UFC. They're there to watch a hockey game and celebrate a birthday party. But that's the only bad point, Andrew, of the whole thing. By the way, you mentioned all the days today. It's in Prince Edward Island. It's Islander Day, Andrew. Did you know that? But the New York
Right.
Islanders do
Yes.
not play today. I looked at it to see if we
Yes.
could find an angle on how the Islanders do on Islander Day, but the Islanders are currently trying to unchoke themselves from last night's loss against or yesterday's loss against the Rangers in the Outdoor Winter Classic. Andrew, let's get right to this game because this one is an early one. This one's at 1 p.m., guys. We're going to cover 3 games: 1 p.m., an afternoon game, and an evening game. But this Dallas-Boston one, you look at the Bruins, and you're never going to find them at a price like this. They're -130 at home. Normally, you're not going to find them unless they're playing, Colorado or Carolina, one of the upper echelon teams. This line hasn't moved. It's still at 130. The over/under is at 6.5. And you look at the Bruins, and I get why people are going to love the Bruins today because they're going to be like, they've lost 4 straight. They lost 5 of the last 6. They're a very good team. But very good teams, Andrew, go through bad spurts throughout the season. You look at the Bruins. The Bruins were starting in October, of course, 8-0-1 and 7-4-2 the next month, 7-3-3 December, 9-2-3 in January. At some point, guys, a little bit of regression is going to hit this team. They're going to go through a slump. In February, they're 1-3-2, and they're struggling. You look at their XG numbers over these last 4 games that they've lost. They've outscored, or their XG is 13.66 to 11.65 for them across the 4 games that they've lost. And yet they've been outscored 15-7. What's the problem with the Bruins? They're not scoring that crucial goal. The Bruins are a very good team. They get up on you by a couple of goals, and then they pound you for that 3rd one or the 4th one, and they bury you. They haven't been able to bury any of these teams of late, with the exception of Vancouver, where they beat them 4-0 off that flat effort against Calgary. But I'm on a hold pattern with the Boston Bruins right now because even if you like them at this price, the numbers state that they just aren't scoring the goals to win them games. And now they're playing a Dallas team who does score goals and could very easily put a bunch in. Dallas is playing some great hockey right now. They're only 5 points out of the lead in the President's Trophy lead right now behind Vancouver at 75 points. They're playing some very good hockey right now. They're scoring, which keeps them in games when their goaltending doesn't. I'm going to lean to it's the early game, but I'm going to lean to the over here. I think we see enough goals from maybe a feisty Bruins team that needs to get a win and a Dallas team that's likely not going to roll over. So give me over 6 in this one, Andrew.
All right, looking towards the over, Bruins and Stars. You're right, Carm. I feel like I haven't given enough respect to the Stars this season. I really don't. I mean, look at the season they've had, the goals they've been able to put up on a game-by-game basis on the road, whether it be at home. Of course, they are a much better home team. But coming into this game, as you mentioned, going through some of the lists versus compared to Boston, Boston struggling to win low-scoring games and high-scoring games. They're able to put up 4 goals against LA. They lose that game, and they get shut out against Washington, lose 3-2 against Tampa, lose 4-1 against Seattle. Not a good stretch for them whatsoever. But Dallas, like you mentioned, Carm, even when they lose right now, they're still putting up goals. And, I'm not saying that we want to see a team that's always involved in over games, because usually that means they're giving up goals as well. But I think it is meaningful to look at a team and say, all right, when they're losing games, are they getting shut out, or are they just, still putting up a couple goals, but losing, 4-3? And that's kind of what I'm seeing here from this Dallas team. Obviously, there was that huge outburst they had against Nashville, but they followed that up with a loss, but still scored a couple of goals themselves. I couldn't agree more with you. And the only thing I'm telling you that bothers me with this, and it didn't happen on Saturday, but there's a long track record of holidays and early day games here at TD Garden. Early start games going under for the Bruins. And I know some people might laugh at me for actually making that part of my handicap, but hey, it works in baseball. I mean, some teams, whether it's an early start, late start, it is impactful. But I think this Boston Bruins team right now, the way that they're playing, they can't afford to lock things down against Dallas, because Dallas will beat them at their own game. I think this is going to be a first team to 4 wins. I'm almost tempted to go look back at the team total route and look at Dallas to get to 4 goals, because even though there's a great tandem of goaltenders with Allmark and Swayman, the way that this team, Boston, is struggling defensively right now is a little bit concerning. So it's obviously a big game. I know it's going to be kind of a popular play here with the Bruins at home, revenge game here for, bounce back spots. But, I've learned the hard way in this really, really up and down season I've had. It's not been my best NHL season, and a lot of it's been because I've been trying to predict when teams will get out of ruts. And Carm, you and I were talking the other day about this. It's way better to predict when a team is going to just continue to roll than it is going to be for them to predict they're going to get out of a rut. So I'm with you. I like the over here. Let's get some goals early on. But I got to know what you think about that whole early start thing. It didn't happen on Saturday, so against Los Angeles. But I will say sometimes that does get to my head, because I know long term the Bruins games in the day always seem to go under.
Yeah, no, listen, I get it completely. It's one of those things where, you look for some data online. Like, I think I was watching the Dallas Edmonton game until it got to like 3-3, and then I didn't care who won because I had the over in that game. But I was pretty sure they flashed up a stat that said I could be wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys. The Dallas Stars are 6-1 in day games this season. I'm like, wow, that's an interesting one. They go on to lose the game to Edmonton 4-3 in overtime. And whenever I see these stats, it throws me off. Dave Koken, love Dave Koken. He posted yesterday on the X. He's like, the Pittsburgh Penguins are 9-1 when holding the lead after the second period, and then the LA Kings, or whoever Pittsburgh was playing, it was the comeback, the Kings, right? The Kings come back and beat them yesterday. It is, Andrew. I liken it to NFL football when you're looking for your guy to put one through the uprights and win, and then they put up that stat. This guy has not missed from inside 45 yards in 36 attempts, and then he clanks one off of the upright, and you're like, stop putting these stupid stats up there. But stats are what make the game and make a game interesting and gives you some fodder to talk about when you're at a bar with your friends drinking before they try and charge you a $10 cover. Andrew, sorry, I'm still a little sour about that. it's not about the money. It is about the principle at the end of the day. So
I get it. No, I get what you were going to say. I get what you're talking about there. And I think that it's one of those things where you just kind of have to realize that the server probably just wasn't even thinking. They were just doing their job. And then once you said that you were going to leave, they probably realized, oh shit, we probably shouldn't have said that. These guys already spent so much money. So I'll tell you my random little pet peeve of the weekend. I coach part-time on weekends, like for fun. And as you know, and there's canteens always set up for fundraising, right? So you don't have to, they don't want you to leave the gym and go to a restaurant with your team. They want you to just go to the canteen that they set up, the host team sets up. It's 2024, right? Nobody has cash on them anymore. I don't carry cash. I carry cards. Right? In the States, they have Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, all this stuff. In Canada, we use e-transfer, right? And it took like a bunch of convincing to get these parents that were running the tournament to actually accept e-transfers for me, Carm. Instead of, I said, who has cash anymore in 2024? You're doing a canteen. They were complaining nobody was buying the food from them, but literally no parent or kids or coaches had cash. So I don't know about you. Yeah. I don't really carry cash on me. I can't remember the last time I saw a $20 bill. Like I just just cards, credit cards, bank cards. It was that. So that was my pet peeve. So that's my little complaint for the weekend, which kind of bothered me a little bit. But we'll move on. I was hungry, man, and I wanted to get food, and I didn't want to leave the gym, and they wouldn't give me food because I didn't have cash. So anyway. Red Wings and Kraken. This one I think is an interesting one, and I'm happy you picked this one, Carm, because as everybody knows, you pick the games each week. And looking at this Red Wings team here, I think this is a team that obviously they're, last game of the road trip here. They're plus 120. They've been playing some pretty good hockey, but the Kraken minus 140. This is kind of a spot that I'd usually look to back them here at home. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I'm surprised a little bit by the market in this one, just because it originally, Andrew, looking at our live lines, it originally opened up at minus 135. I saw it during the night and early morning. The numbers, if you watch it's a great service, WagerTalk's free live line service, a lot of books, and you can see the movements as they happen. Andrew, if I saw them go to like 140, 145, I think at a book, and the money's been coming in on Detroit ever since. Dropped it down to the original under the opening number 135. It's at 130 right now for the Kraken. So I get it, but it's a tough one just because I like the way Detroit's playing. I took Detroit in my Fade Calgary project. They win the game 5-0 in Calgary, even though it didn't look good. Or it didn't look like they were playing well, getting a lot of shots on goal. And then you look at Seattle. This is their first game home since the January 30th. 4 games on the road, East Coast trip, come home. I get it. The last game was the 15th, where it's the 19th. So they've had 3 days off along with the travel. Short sample size. Seattle on 3 days rest is 1-1 this season. I'm looking at the under here because I think the Kraken are trying to, again, claw their way into those playoff spots. We're seeing a lot of teams do it, and they're doing it with defense. And that's why we're seeing unders in some of these games. It is odd that we're seeing overs with some of these teams that are in the top 8 or even in the top 6, but you get because they know where they are. But then you get that next batch of six teams that are fighting for those wildcard spots, and they're starting to play some playoff hockey. You're seeing it. 7-2-1 for the Kraken under their last 10 games. They're not a team with a lot of pure goal scorers, Andrew. So when they play a team that plays very good defense, they have to scrap out those 3-2 wins, and they've been doing it. And then you look at Detroit. Reimer started in goal against Calgary. His first start in like 19 games. I think he's only started once in the last 20 games for Detroit. It's been a steady diet because of the injuries. Has been a steady diet of Alex Lyon. Lyon's confirmed for tonight. I like the under in this one, or for this afternoon, because I think this game's 3:30. I like the under in this one. I think Detroit still needs wins because they're holding on to that eighth spot. There's plenty of time to go, but scrapping out a point or two here is a big thing, and I think they do it by with a low scoring game. I'm not going to pick a side here. It is too hard. I'll settle with a 3-2 in OT scoreline.
You'll settle for an exciting game, but it stays to the under. I like that. I'm with you on that one. Look, I do have a lean to the home team. I do have a lean to the Seattle Kraken here in this game. I like the spot. I like the way it sets up for them. I like how they're rested. I like the situation for them. But I'm going to just stick with the under. As you mentioned, 10 of last 15 games under for Detroit. 6 of last 7 on the road, under for Detroit. 5 straight games under for Seattle. Specifically against this division, actually, against the Atlantic Division, they've gone under on a huge scale, if that means anything to anybody. But we've got Alex Lyon head-to-head against Joey Decord, as Decord is good and back in the mix here steadily for this Seattle Kraken team. And, you know, what's interesting, Carm, is that usually when I look at a team in the last game of their road trip, the over is a play I look for. Last game of a road trip, I'm looking for a exciting back and forth, a little bit of sloppy game here. But I look back, these two teams, when they meet and the style that they play, you hit it right on the head with this. I mean, Detroit does have pure goal scorers, but at the same time, what's brought them success is playing defensive hockey, getting a lead and protecting it. Sure, their last victory was 5-0 over that team that you talked about fading, the Calgary Flames. But, you know, look at a couple of their other wins that they've had recently. It's not like they've given up that many goals. A lot of times they've gone over the total recently has been from them scoring the goals. It's not like it's been a combined both teams scoring. And same thing for Seattle. A lot of times that they've gotten wins recently, it's been them doing the scoring. But they are a very kind of park the bus, sit back, trap the neutral zone type of team. And they very much so stay out of the penalty box. They don't take a lot of bad penalties. They're a very smart team. They're kind of a veteran team, actually. They don't have a lot of younger players. And I just like the way this team plays. They're very structured. And, you know, it would surprise me today to see a middle of the afternoon game, Detroit and Seattle just, you know, go crazy with, 7 or 8 goals. So I think this one is a defensive battle. I think this game means something to both teams. And as you mentioned, Carm, Detroit, these type of games are where they need to play their best hockey. You know, last game of a road trip, hectic schedule lately, playing against an out-of-conference team. They want to build points towards the playoffs, stay in that playoff spot that they're in. I'm going to lock in the under, just like yourself. But as I mentioned, a small lean to the Kraken here in this one.
Yeah, Andrew, one of the things I wanted to mention, you look at like this Detroit team we talked about, and I always mention our live lines because I think it's a great tool and it's just absolutely free. But you look at it, and I'll mention it every once in a while because I think you got to take a little bit of notice of it. But I talk about like certain books in Vegas, and having met some of them and who I think are really the sharp guys, and Circa I think have some sharp hockey guys there. They're offering you the best possible price on Seattle if you want to take it. All the other books are in the 130-ish. They're offering you 122. They're welcoming some Seattle money. So I'm not sure if the guy handling that book wants that Seattle money. I'm just looking to see what Seattle's if they want Seattle's action. But you look at Detroit, Andrew, and I'm just looking at some of their numbers against the West this season. They are let's have a look here. 12-8-3. So they got a winning record against the West this season. Not bad for them. The Kraken pretty much negligible as well too. You go 13-10-3 against the East. Seattle loves coming into on the East Coast and winning those road trips. Won 8 in a row last year. Finished up with a couple of wins, including one in Boston again this time around. So a tight one, but I think if you're looking at some of the books or the ones I think are sharp, they're leaning Detroit in this one, but under for me.
I mean, you're certainly getting value on Detroit, and that word gets thrown around so much. Who the hell knows what value means from one guy to the next, right? But I just think that at this point, this Seattle team, this is the type of spot they sneak up on you, right? And how many people talk about Seattle on social media, the NHL network, NHL shows, right? Nobody ever pumps their tires. Nobody ever says anything good about them. And I think it's a lot of it to do with what you mentioned, Carm, that they don't have many superstars. They're not going to make the top 10 goals of the night, right? They're not going to make the highlight reels. They don't have that many young draft picks that, stick out very much. So I just feel like nobody gives them respect. Nobody really likes this Seattle team at all.
No, I don't think it's that, Andrew. You know what I mean? Well, Raven Ron, who's normally in our chat, is a huge Seattle fan. But the thing is, because they're the newest franchise in the NHL, right? So they haven't really blown up outside of Seattle. They have a great fan base, but it's not like teams like, let's say, Colorado, for one, or Pittsburgh, where throughout Canada and in the States, there's transplanted fans. You look at Pittsburgh, and you've got Marco's in Vegas, but he's a Pittsburgh fan. Crosby fans, Nate McKinnon fans. So you see those jerseys all over the place. You don't normally see Seattle jerseys spring up at an away contest unless they are from Seattle, making the trip, or transplanted, whatever they call Seattle people who are transplanted, Seattletonians. Is that what it's called, Andrew? But with that said, give them some time. There's something to be said about these gritty teams that we saw them do it to the Colorado Avalanche in the playoffs last season. They literally checked them into the ground and won that series. So at least for the home base, that's their team. At one point, they'll expand.
That's a good point. It's hard to gather fans elsewhere besides actually in Seattle. Guys, if you're liking these videos, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel here, WagerTalk TV. The channel continues to grow every single day. It wouldn't happen without all of you. And comment below who you're betting on today. I'm sure you guys are checking out all the day hockey, day action going on. Like I mentioned, there's games all the way up until 10 or 11 o'clock Eastern time. So it's a great day to be a hockey fan, great day to be a hockey bettor. So please, if you're enjoying the video, hit the like button here. We can try and cash some tickets here on PuckTime. I'll have the buy and sell segment coming up. Carmine crushed 6 and 60 segment last week. I'll try and forecast some winners moving forward. But speaking of which, Carm, we've got one more game to get into here. Ottawa, the Senators taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Man, I will just say, this is just insane how this team works. Like, they work in such different ways. I would describe them as kind of like a mentally weak team, honestly. Like, they go on runs. They look good for a couple days. They look bad for a couple days. But how do you win 4 straight games and then you lose 2 games in a row to Anaheim and Chicago? Like, I'm a huge fan of when I'm handicapping and I see a team has lost a few games, I got to check who they lost to, how they lost. This team is so confusing, Carm, because you cannot tell me they beat Detroit, Toronto, Nashville, and then they go ahead and lose those 2 teams. And they lost to Anaheim 5-1. And it was a bounce-back game for Anaheim after a tough loss against the Habs. But this team is rough, and they are not in a good spot tonight as they are getting the Tampa Bay Lightning in a really, really big bounce-back spot after they lost 9-2 against the Panthers, which you and I both on the Friday PuckTime show took Florida in that spot. We liked Florida going into Tampa Bay there, the Panthers. So you got a bounce-back spot for Tampa that will not be happy playing at home against an Ottawa team heading on the road that just lost to Anaheim and the Chicago Blackhawks, 2 of the bottom feeders in the league. And I will tell you, 7s are usually not good for overs. We've seen it. Ralph Michaels has talked about it time and time again. It just seems like that's how it is. These 7s don't really go over. Carm, I'm going to lay a little bit of chalk here. I'm going to go Tampa Bay team total over 3.5 minus 140. Tampa to get to 4 goals. I am not concerned about what Ottawa does. They could put up 4 or 5 for all I care. I just need Tampa Bay to get me to 4 goals. Bounce back fashion, a veteran-built team, a great coach in John Cooper. They will not be happy, and they get an Ottawa Senators team that struggled defensively all season long. I'll take Tampa to get to 4 goals. Carm, what do you have for us?
Yeah. First of all, before I get into this game, I want to mention real quickly our regular Thursday guy, Brian Leonard, has a 5% play up in the NHL today. You can find that over at WagerTalk on his page. So best of luck to Brian with his play. Andrew, this is a funny game. I talk about in a lot of my write-ups and on the show about good teams that have like a really bad game. You kind of draw a line through it because it's not who they are. Tampa's not a team that's going to lose 9-2 regularly to Florida. They had a bad game. Draw a line through it. This team is better than that. You look back, they lose to the New York Islanders in New York 6-2, and then they ring off 3 straight wins. But even at this price, I don't want to touch it. It's minus 170. It was 170, opened to 170. Some Ottawa money came in at 160. You look at Ottawa, you talk about it. Ottawa sort of does what the Leafs, we talk about the Leafs doing sometimes. They play up to the good teams and down to the bad teams. I think they won those games and thought that they were just going to roll over Anaheim and Chicago, be on 50 points, 12 points out of a playoff spot, and make some type of a run. They're playing well. They're 6-3-1 their last 10, which for a team that's sitting 1 point out of last place is not bad. But if you watch the game against Chicago, it's almost like when they got scored on, they showed Chuck on the bench, and he's just like, he's just shrugging his shoulders and shaking his head a little bit. This team, I just don't think this team has any pride. They don't have any heart. But with that said, I can't take the under in this game, because when these teams get together, it's like they throw goaltending and defense out the door. Andrew, just look at some of their scores this year: 6-4 Tampa in Ottawa this season, back on November the 4th. Prior to that, 5-2, 7-4, 7-2, 4-3, 5-2. Maybe it's one of those President's Day versus Canada Day ones that kind of explode. Where I will go here with Andrew is this: Ottawa, for as bad as their season has been, you can always find a tiny little nugget in profitable angle with them. Their first periods on the two-way money line haven't been bad, but then they've been profitable. Probably the only profitability we can find in this Ottawa team is taking them the money line first period, and they're plus 125 today in the first period. If they're going to win this game, they have to win the first period. If Tampa gets the lead, Tampa's just going to bury them, I have to believe. So I'm willing for that slice of pizza on Canada Day to take Ottawa Senators first period plus 125, the only profitable angle that I could find on the Sens. And we'll see. It's one of the final games tonight, because I think the last 2 games both go off at 7:00. So I'm buying the Sens plus 125 first period. Call me crazy in the chat. I know I am already. Which leads me to this, Andrew, the buy and sell segment. I need to know who we're buying, who we're selling this week. Lay it on us.
I just want to say real quick, Carm, that plus 130 price for both teams to score was intriguing for me in the first period. So 2 teams that will not be happy will be in bounce back mode. So I was looking at that as far as the first period play. So let's cash some tickets, though, tonight, Carm. Great games for us to break down there on PuckTime. But this is the buy and sell segment every single week, trying to find a team to bet on or bet against. Both teams that I have selected for this week are in the Western Conference. And out of the All-Star break, the Winnipeg Jets didn't look very good. I think they were 1-4. Since even acquiring Sean Monahan, they didn't look great. But it takes time. Pick up a new player. You had a little bit of a break after you were in a good mojo. And now I think they're really starting to get their swagger back. And they have a really favorable schedule on the rise here. They're playing the Flames. They've got the Wild, Blackhawks, Coyotes coming up here over the next week and a half. Throw in the Blues. I think a lot of these are winnable games against teams that struggle defensively, against teams the Winnipeg Jets stack up great against. And over the next few weeks, we're going to really see the depth that Winnipeg has. The lines were shuffled for them over the last few weeks, which is why I believe the chemistry wasn't exactly there. Once that chemistry is built and once they have those lines figured out, Carm, I believe the Jets are going to go back to being a very, very dangerous team that will be a threat come playoff time. Now, my sell team, I have to give you all the credit here for this one, Carm. The Calgary Flames. They actually play the Winnipeg Jets, and they're going to start things off, I think, with a loss in their schedule here coming up. But they've got the Jets on hand. They've got the Bruins, Oilers, Kings, and Penguins. That is not a good schedule for a team on the decline. They traded off a few pieces already. I expect them to be sellers at the trade deadline as well. And they're playing teams that just have a lot of fast pace with the way that they play, like the Oilers, like the Penguins, Kings, Bruins, a lot of superstar caliber players. And I simply do not believe that the Flames can keep up with it. They have the forwards to back check and play defense against these guys. It's two teams with just really different schedules. Winnipeg has a great schedule, and the Flames have a very tough schedule coming up. So that's the buy and sell segment, guys. We'll try and make some money betting on Winnipeg, and we'll try and make some money betting against the Calgary Flames. Carm, I know you like one of them, but what are your thoughts on the other with the Winnipeg Jets?
No, you know, I mean, I think of the Canadian teams, Winnipeg just plays the same style, whether they are home, whether they are away, kind of like the Dallas Stars. They play the same style of hockey. Some teams just don't carry their home form on the road, but Winnipeg is one of the ones that does. So I like that one. And, I talked about this fade of Calgary, and, I believe in it again. I'm just going to reiterate some of the points on this team is they're just not playing 60 minutes of solid hockey. That there's something wrong with this team. And even Markstrom, and I know I exchanged some messages with people in our comment section on Friday's video about Markstrom, about calling it a terrible contract. It's a terrible contract to move. It's a good contract to keep because you're paying him $6 million, but not a lot of top teams that are trying to make the playoffs and or in need of a goalie have cap space. So unless Calgary eats a majority of that contract, it's going to be tough to move a guy like Markstrom, but we'll see. Maybe someone eats that contract. But they play Winnipeg, they play Boston, they play the Oilers, the Kings, Penguins, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and then it's the trade deadline. And then the next day after the trade deadline, they play Florida and Carolina and Colorado. They're just not playing well enough hockey, Andrew, to say you have to be the hardest diehard fan, the fan to say to me, you believe that Calgary is going to make the playoffs with that schedule that they have leading up to the All-Star break and then the 3 games after the All-Star break. Literally they move players and the next night they're playing Florida and then Carolina and then the Avalanche. I just don't see it, but we've been surprised before. Every single one of those teams I mentioned is fighting for a playoff spot. So they're not getting any easy outs over the next 12 to 14 games.
And it's one thing for your defense to be slowing down, but if your offense is slowing down like theirs has, they're in tough over the next few games here, Carm. Why don't you start things off with best bets for us here, Carm? I know you have a great special going on right now, combining your soccer and hockey plays. Let's hear about that and whatever else you have going on, but looking forward to hearing your best bet as well.
Yes, so a great weekend. February has been a good month. January started really well. February has definitely started really well. Across both hockey and soccer, up over 53 units after 18 days. So it's going well. So Melissa in her office, God bless her, put together this special. You get every single NHL play right through to the Stanley Cup playoffs, and then every soccer play through the summer. So we're going to extend it even more. 3 huge tournaments this summer. The Euros 2024, Italy looking to defend their title. We have the Copa America that is being played in the U.S. It's going to be on all the networks there. And then the Leagues Cup as well, too, the MLS's tournament, club tournament, along with the teams that play in Liga MX in Mexico. So you're going to get all those plays. This package will end on the 15th of July this summer. So it's a great deal. You can get over at WagerTalk for half the price. Andrew, my best bet, I'm going to go to the Edmonton Oilers. And I'm taking them not on the money line, but I'm taking them on the puck line. It's a rough time right now for the Arizona Coyotes. They lose again last night. They're on the second of a back-to-back in this one, and they're starting in goal tonight. They called up from the Tucson Roadrunners. They called up Matt Vallada. He's had a good season playing for the Roadrunners. I think his goals against average is something like 238 or 258, 913 save percentage. He's like 22-11, but playing in the AHL and playing in the NHL, and it's a quick turnaround. They played last night, and now they play this game 1 p.m. Pacific time against the Edmonton Oilers, who are waiting for them and scoring goals now. It doesn't bode well for Arizona today. Give me the Oilers -1.5, -120 as your show best bet.
You can't go wrong fading that team right now. They're back to being their old self. Some things never change in life, and that's what keeps us sane, Carm. This Coyotes team is struggling again. Oilers -1.5 goals. And guys, don't forget to check out that great deal Carm has going. Those are the specials, the multi-sport specials, soccer and hockey from Carmine. I'm looking at two best bets for me today as far as clients and premium plays are concerned. You guys can grab those over at WagerTalk.com, both 4% plays. But for my best bet for today's show here on PuckTime, we're going to go with the under in the Detroit game here. I think we're going to see a defensive game. Kraken and Red Wings. Looking at these teams here, 5 straight unders for the Kraken. We've seen 15 of the last 20 games for the Red Wings have gone under the total. 6 of their last 7 road games here. We got Decord in net for the Kraken. We've got Lyon in net for the Red Wings. They've both been phenomenal between the pipes. It is the last game of the road trip for the Red Wings, but they've been playing some phenomenal defense. It's been mostly their offense pushing games over the total. I believe this will be a very tight matchup between two teams that stay out of the box quite a bit, that play great defense, and have 2 great goaltenders tonight. So we'll take the under 6.5. Red Wings and Kraken for my show play. Guys, thanks so much for being here with us today. I hope you enjoy your holiday and hope you enjoy all of the great games on tap today in the National Hockey League.